All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and our latest RBT practice exam series where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. As always, when you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shoutout. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Even though students are told to upload PDF files, they still upload Word files to submit assignments. Their professor tells them he is no longer grading Word files and only grading PDF files. This represents what? All right, a differential reinforcement question. And when you're dealing with differential reinforcement as an RBT, you typically are going to need to know DROs, DRIs, and DRAs, especially for the exam. And the main difference between DROs and then DRIs and DRAs is DROs don't teach replacement behaviors. DRO, and differential reinforcement of other behaviors, you reinforce in the absence of a behavior. With incompatible and alternative, DRIs and DRAs, we're going to be putting on extinction or target behavior, but then reinforcing a specific new replacement behavior. So you have to ask yourself, is a replacement behavior being taught or reinforced? Well, in this case, yes. Students are told to upload PDF files, but they are uploading Word files instead. Right? The professor tells them, I'm not grading the Word files anymore. I'm only grading PDF files. So he's only reinforcing PDF files. That's the new behavior. He's putting these other behaviors on extinction. So it isn't a DRO because DRO happens in the absence of a behavior. And for reinforcement to be delivered here, the behavior must occur. So it's either going to be DRI or DRA. So DRI, the behaviors are incompatible. So you have to ask yourself, can these two things happen simultaneously? And no, you can't upload a Word file and a PDF file. They're two very distinct things. It's going to be either a Word file or a PDF file. DRA, right, can happen at the same time. They're not incompatible with each other. Now, given more information, this would be a much more specific question, right? How many files can you upload at a time, et cetera, et cetera. But given what we have, we can assume that you can't do both, right? I need a PDF file and not a Word file. So since these are incompatible together, we're going to be teaching a DRI. You've got to pick the best answer knowing what information you're given. And if we were given more information, right, we could maybe make a better judgment call. But given that these items are two very distinct things, the professor is using a differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors. I am no longer doing this one. You have to upload the PDF files, and you can't do them simultaneously. It's going to be either PDF or Word. Jason tells his friend that Indiana is a sure thing to beat Michigan in the basketball game on Sunday. Jason's friend says he will be over in an hour to watch the game. Jason's friend is using what measurement for his behavior? All right, behavior question, measurement question. Identify whose behavior we're looking at. Jason's friend. And then what are we asking about? We're asking about the measurement for Jason's friend behavior. Well, Jason tells his friend that Indiana's going to win the basketball game. So Jason's friend says, I will be over in an hour. So what kind of measurement is that? A, rate. Has Jason's friend mentioned a count or frequency? Has not. B, duration. Yes, I will be over in an hour. An hour is going to pass, and then I will come over. That is the duration until I come over to watch the game. Why is it not inter-response time? Well, inter-response time is the time in between two responses, right? And this isn't the time in between two responses. Latency is the time in between the SD and the start of the response. We're looking at the time of the response, right? The total time of coming over is going to be an hour. So be careful when we have our time questions, right? Latency and inter-response time measure time in between, right? Duration measures the time of a response. And the response is coming over. It's going to take an hour for Jason's friend to come over. Jason's friend is using duration to measure his behavior. Aaron lays out a red Skittle, a blue Skittle, a green Skittle, and a yellow Skittle. He tells his little brother to pick his favorite one. Aaron then clears away all the Skittles and puts up 4 different colored M&Ms. What type of preference assessment does this describe? So let's be careful here, right? We have how many stimuli? Well, we have 4, right? Red, blue, green, yellow. And so when dealing preference assessments, we always start there. How many stimuli are we assessing? If it's 1, single choice. If it's 2 at a time, it's paired choice. If it's 3 or more, it's going to be multiple stimulus or free operant. In this case, we've got 4 stimuli. Little brother picks one, but then Aaron clears away all the Skittles and replaces them with new stimuli. Does this describe any of these preference assessments? Well, we know it's not a single choice because we've got 4 stimuli at once. We know it isn't paired choice because he's not presenting 2 at once. And why isn't it multiple stimulus with replacement? Because in multiple stimulus with replacement, the item that is picked remains, the other items are cleared away and replaced. In this case, even the item that was picked is taken away. Because let's say the little brother's favorite Skittle was red. And in multiple stimulus with replacement, Aaron would keep the red Skittle and replace the blue, green, and yellow. Instead, Aaron's brother, let's say he picks his favorite one, red. Aaron clears away all the Skittles and puts up 4 brand new stimuli. So what type of preference assessment does this describe? Well, none of these. None of these based on the definition of each one of these preference assessments. Jonathan has a crush on Annie. Jonathan asks Annie if she can help him with his homework. Annie says sure, even though Jonathan is better at biology than Annie. Now, Jonathan asks Annie for help with all of his homework. Why? All right, we've got a reinforcement question here, right? And we know that Jonathan now asks Annie for help with all of his homework. So we know his behavior increased. So our antecedent was the antecedent was Jonathan has this crush on Annie, and then Jonathan asked Annie if she can help him with the homework, and the consequence was Annie said sure. So Annie saying sure has led to Jonathan asking Annie for help in the future. So we know it's reinforcement. What type? A, positive. Well, yeah, Annie is adding the stimulus of the response sure, right? The behavior is Jonathan asks if she can help. Annie says sure, reinforcing Jonathan's asking, and in the future, Jonathan asked more. Is it negative reinforcement? Negative reinforcement, we're taking away something. It's not non-contingent because it is a contingency, right? Non-contingent reinforcement is an antecedent intervention on a schedule. This is not non-contingent. There's a contingency. And it isn't differential reinforcement because no extinction is at play. So Jonathan asking Annie for help with all of his homework is due to positive reinforcement. Your friend books a hotel room and a table for you and 2 other people for next weekend. You now owe your friend $300 through Venmo. The day before the trip, you send the money. The day before the trip functions as a what relative to sending the money. Whenever we're talking MOs, motivating operations, and SDs, we ask ourselves, was the consequence always available, right? In other words, could you have always sent the money to your friend? Sure, right? You know your friend booked the hotel room. You know you owe your friend $300 through Venmo, but you wait till the day before the trip to send the money. You could have sent that money at any point. So the day before the trip isn't the SD because it's not now signaling to you that reinforcement's available for sending the money. You could have done it at any time. What the day before the trip has done is increase the value of sending the money. It's changed your motivation to send the money. So the day before the trip is functioning as a motivating operation. It isn't a consequence because it's an antecedent. It's not a prompt because it comes before the response of sending the money. So it's going to be an MO. It's an establishing operation for you sending the money. It increases the value of sending the money and temporarily alters your behavior. So again, if the consequence is always available, if you are always able to engage in the act, then it's most likely not going to be an SD, right? The SD only signals that something is now available. Sending the money has always been available. The only thing that's changed is the motivation. The motivating operation of the day before the trip temporarily altered your behavior and you sent the money. What is the difference between a movement prompt and a positional prompt? I wanted to point this out, okay, because these can get confusing, right? They sound similar. Movement prompt and a positional prompt. Well, we know the positional prompt, we're acting on the stimulus, right? We're repositioning our stimulus. If we've got a field of 3, maybe we're taking that middle card and moving it forward. whatever, right? We're moving the stimuli in order to evoke a behavior. A movement prompt, however, is just another word for a gestural prompt, and that's acting on the response, okay? So A, there's no difference. Well, there is a difference. B, a movement prompt uses gestures to indicate the correct response. Okay, looks pretty good, right? A movement prompt is just like a gestural prompt. C, a positional prompt uses gestures to indicate the correct response. No, a positional prompt alters the stimuli location. D, a movement prompt alters the location of the stimulus. That is not correct, right? A movement prompt is just a gestural prompt. So don't get these two confused. A movement prompt is a gestural prompt acting on the response. A positional prompt is a stimulus prompt acting on the stimulus. They're not the same thing. A movement prompt uses gestures to indicate and evoke the correct response. Which of the following is not a reason why we fade out reinforcement? Okay, we're talking about fading out reinforcement, slowly increasing the effort and response it takes to earn reinforcement. We're thinning that schedule. The question is asking, what is not a reason why we do that? So A, to encourage maintenance. Do we encourage maintenance through fading out reinforcement? Absolutely, because as reinforcement is faded, that means you get reinforced less and less for engaging in the behavior. And eventually we want to fade out our schedule and our teaching. So we're trying to encourage maintenance. B, to encourage effort. Well, we're not ever talking about encouraging effort, okay? We're not encouraging effort, right? Effort is a hypothetical construct, okay? C, to encourage generalization. Yes, fading out, thinning the schedule is perfect for maintenance and generalization. D, to encourage strengthening of behavior. Also, yes, the thinner the schedule, the stronger the behavior becomes. So we're not encouraging effort through fading out reinforcement. We are encouraging maintenance, generalization, and strengthening of behavior. Now, response effort might increase as we fade out reinforcement, but we're not, quote unquote, encouraging effort by fading it out. It's systematic to target these specific technical things, right? We're targeting maintenance, we're targeting generalization, we're strengthening the behavior. We're not targeting, quote unquote, effort. What is the standard amount of time that documents should be retained for an ABA? This question comes up a lot. You know, it's just kind of a rote memorization thing. So we just try to review it every now and then. And the standard amount of time documents should be retained, 7 years. Nothing to it, right? Kind of like some of the graphing questions. You know it or you don't. Okay. There's no fancy trick or anything special about it. Just is what it is. Margaret is shown how to take food out of the fridge, put it into a bowl, cover it, and heat it up in the microwave. Once the timer goes off and she hears a beep, she is taught how to safely remove the food. What is the SD for removing the food? So the SD does what? Well, it signals reinforcement is available. It's an antecedent and typically occurs right before the response. So the response is removing the food. So let's break it down. We know the timer goes off. There's a beep, and then she removes the food. So the timer going off doesn't signal her. It's the beep, because the beep is right before the response. And once the beep occurs, it now signals there's a reinforcement for removing the food. So what is the SD? Well, it isn't putting in a bowl, obviously, right? Because you've got to go through a lot more steps. It isn't heating it up because it's got to fully heat up and finish the process. It's not the timer going off because there's another step in between there, which is the beep. So the beep is teaching her how to safely remove the food. Now, maybe you could argue that the beep is a prompt, right? Well, the timer goes off, the beep prompts her to get it out. But in reality, right, we are okay with her responding to the beep as the SD, okay? And a prompt functions as a temporary SD. Responding to the beep is totally fine. That is a good SD. That is the SD saying now is officially available, it's safe to open, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a prompt because we're okay with her responding to it as the SD, and it is an SD. So what is the SD for removing the food? The beep. Excellent. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know. Work hard, study hard, like, subscribe. See you soon.